Hey guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. It is Q&A Tuesday. Are you guys ready? I am totally ready. Now, if you're brand new to my channel, I take all of the questions that I get from video comments, from emails, from Instagram about medical coding, all the questions, and I put them here on today's show. So if you haven't subscribed yet, I hope you do, and I hope you hit that like button as well, because this really helps me out, along with you guys sharing this video. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so first question, what are your thoughts on the CRC? If you don't know, the CRC is the Certified Risk Adjustment Coder. This is a credential through the American Academy of Professional Coders. When it comes to the specialty credentials like the CRC or even the CPB, which is a Certified Professional Biller, and AAPC has a lot of specialty credentials. It really is going to depend on if maybe where you want to work is looking for that particular credential. But when it comes to the specialty credentials, I have noticed when I'm doing the show prep for like these job listings, when I do the episodes for the job listings review, I haven't really noticed a lot of people asking for the specialty ones, like drilling down to like the CRC, for example. Not to say that there isn't some out there looking for that. I just haven't personally seen them on these medical coding job listings that I've been looking across. If this is what you want to do, then sure. But keep in mind that if you are racking up all these additional credentials, you're going to have to get continuing education units to maintain these other credentials as well. So you are going to have to get more continuing education units if you want to get this CRC. Is it good? Sure, if that's what you want, or if your association, like whatever, not association, if the organization that you're working for is asking for it, then sure. But as far as like, do I think it's a great credential? I don't know. I mean, because I have personally not done risk adjustment myself, so I mean, it's entirely up to you. I'm either way on that one, whether you want to or not. In some places, yes, it looks more impressive, but a lot of times employers are just looking for at least one credential, one medical coding credential. So that's my thought on that one. The next one is, what is best for someone who has a master's degree? Like what kind of credential, or should they get another degree in like health information management? What's the deal? So if you have your degree, and it doesn't matter like what it is for, right? It's all going to depend on you. It's really going to depend on what you want to do. If you want to be in a leadership role, then I recommend that you look into the bachelor's degree, the Registered Health Information Administrator, and it's offered by AHIMA, the American Health Information Management Association. And that is where you're up on the executive floor and you're basically running a department, okay? You're not doing a whole lot of coding. It's more manning the ship. That is what you're doing. You're captain of the ship, and basically you're running the show, okay? If you want to do more of like auditing and things like that, well, I mean, you don't have to have a master's degree, but just somebody who's spent that much time in school, you would think that they would want more of a managerial position type. But if you want to do more of the coding side of the house, the RHIT is another wonderful degree, but it's an associate's degree. It won't take as long as a master's degree, but it's the associate's degree. And these people who have this designation, the RHIT, Registered Health Information Technician, they are the ones that are doing like the auditing, and they usually are like the team leads and things like that. They are doing some of the supervisory work, but they are more like auditing side of the house type deal. So that's what that is. And if you want to just do straight medical coding, you don't want to be anybody's boss, you don't want to be in charge, look at the CCS, which is a Certified Coding Specialist. Now, I will say this about that credential. Some people may disagree, but it's one credential, and it says that you know how to code both inpatient and outpatient setting, because they both have different rules, okay? Inpatient has their way of doing things, and they use the PCS book for their procedures. The outpatient side, they do things their way, and they use the CPT book, or the current procedural terminology book. So again, if you just want to do coding, I mean, you could do the CCS or the CCSP or the CCA, okay, if you want to go the AHIMA route. If you want to go the AAPC route, they have the CPC, which is the Certified Professional Coder, okay? So that's my advice on that one. It's really all going to depend on what you want to do. But if you want to do those managerial spots, you're going to be looking at the RHIA, and that's a bachelor's degree. So that's my answer on that one. All right, next one is, I currently have 15 years of surgical pathology experience, but would like to transition into more of an office setting. I have some experience with coding or laboratory testing. Do you think going into HIM would be a good transition? So when you have previously had experience like this, like maybe you were a nurse, or in this viewer's case, they were working as surgical pathology, that is good because you already have some of your foundation. You know your medical terminology, and chances are you know your anatomy and physiology. Okay, so that's good. That's a big chunk of what goes on with what we do out of the way. Okay. Sometimes I hear, and I don't know because I didn't quite follow up with this one, but when some people say they have experience with coding, what they mean is like they're selecting from a pre-selected list of codes, and so whatever they're doing, those are the codes that they're reporting for that. That's not the same as what we do. When we're medical coding, we are reviewing documentation, looking at whatever happened and giving them either a level or assigning them a procedure code or whatever the case may be. So we're using full documentation, and we're abstracting sometimes, which is like looking at it and selecting the diagnosis ourselves. Sometimes we are auditing whatever the provider has selected, and sometimes we have to add diagnoses that maybe were missed or have to change. So there's a lot more to it than just selecting from a list. I don't know if that's what this person did, but I'm just saying sometimes like that's what some people think that's what we do. You just kind of select from a list of codes. It's not like that. It's about really fully understanding what you're reading and comprehending what you're reading. That was the word I was trying to think of. Comprehending what you're reading and putting it into codes so that it can best reflect what happened on this visit. So I'm biased when I tell you guys it's a good field. And yesterday's episode, I think I did a pretty good job of explaining why I thought that medical coding was right for me. So it's really all going to depend on you. Some places it's going to be a very isolating setting. It just depends on where you are. Sometimes you're working in an office with other people. Sometimes you're working in an office by yourself. Right now, because of COVID, everybody is pretty much at home. If they're not, they're in an office, but they have to use masks and things like that. So it just depends on where you are. To me, it's a wonderful field. It's always growing. It's always changing, which I like. It doesn't get boring. So it's really going to depend on you. You have to be a reader. That's the number one thing. You've got to be a reader, because what we do is more than just skimming documentation. It is actually comprehending, okay? We have to be able to accept changes, and a lot of times it's difficult for some people because they want to get trained to do one thing, and that's what they want to do from there on out. And it's not like that. We get rules updated every year with either the diagnosis codes or the procedure codes, and we get new codes added and we get new codes deleted, or codes deleted, not new codes deleted. But there's just different things that happen. So it's entirely up to you. I would recommend it, but again, I'm very biased because I really love what I do. And so, it's entirely up to you. But yeah, I think it would be a cool transition because you already know the bulk of it, which is anatomy, physiology, and medical terminology. And I say, if you have that good foundation, then you're good to go. All right, next question. How would an outpatient coder get experience as an inpatient coder? Sometimes in some facilities, they allow the outpatient side to come in and help the inpatient side. I know that's the case with my facility. It depends on where you are. Sometimes if you are willing to stretch yourself and say, I'm willing to help when I'm caught up in my area, is it possible to to help out in the inpatient side, and maybe sometimes you get lucky and somebody will be willing to train you and say, yeah, we could use the help and let me train you while you're here. And so that's a good way to get experience. It also shows that you're a really good team player. So I mean, it just depends on where you are working, okay, and if people are willing to help out. And I think that that is something that is sorely lacking sometimes in facilities, where sometimes when people want to help out, you know, people take it the wrong way. So it's like, you know, it really does depend on where you are and the people that are around you. So if you get lucky and you are around people that are willing to say, okay, thank you for wanting to help, and, you know, let me help you to learn this stuff, then you can do it that way. But other than that, it's going to be studying. You have to study for the exam, so that way you can be able to, you know, sit for the inpatient side of the, you know, and the inpatient side of the house. If you have your CCS, then obviously you were trained to do inpatient coding. If you are with AAPC, they do have the CIC, the Certified Inpatient Coder. So that's something that you may want to look into if doing inpatient is what you want to do. Okay. Now, another thing too, I got to say about inpatient. Sometimes when people see the requirements, like the production requirements, they think, oh, well, it's not that bad because they say it's like 2 to 3 charts per hour. Oh, okay, I should be able to do that. The amount of information that you have to review, okay? So from the average of 2 to 3 charts, I mean, it can range. It really does range. The amount and the stay of each patient is not the same. Some patients stay in longer, some patients are shorter, but it's more information because they were perhaps sicker. You know, there's a lot of factors that go into it. So it really kind of does even out between inpatient and outpatient side. So it really is going to depend on where you are. But I mean, inpatient is very fascinating. It's different. They use the PCS book, which is completely different from what I'm used to with the outpatient side. But, you know, hey, if that's what you want to do, go for it. Okay, next question. I was wondering about taking the CIC through AAPC. I am concerned about being given the material and not having an instructor to help guide me. I want to know how the classes are taught. Can you help me? Okay, I'm not with AAPC. I'm with AHIMA. So as far as like how their online classes go, I don't know. You'd have to ask them. The thing I will say is this. People learn all the time about medical coding online. They go through online programs all the time. When I went to the trade school, I literally was sat in front of a computer and said, here, learn. I didn't really have a teacher. And the person that came in to give us seminars every once in a while was just basically up there talking about medical coding. Didn't really break things down, you know, so there's no guarantee that even if you go to a trade school that you're going to have an actual hands-on instructor. So there's a little, it's the, gosh, I can't even think of what it would be. Like, it's a good and a bad thing about it, you know? So, I mean, but I will say people learn all the time from teaching themselves medical coding. So if you get stuck, there's always those meetings. There's the AAPC local chapter meetings that you can go to, and perhaps you can meet up with somebody to try and see if you can get like a mentor or somebody to help you. You can submit your question here and see if I can help you. You're asking about the inpatient side. You know, my experience with the inpatient side is very limited, okay? I will do my best to help, but I can't guarantee anything, okay? So, I mean, that's what I can offer. But, I mean, it's all going to depend on you. If you have to be like in a school and you have to be like with a teacher, then go for it that way. But it's not going to guarantee you that just because you're with a teacher that they're going to teach you. Okay, so that's something that you have to make sure when you're vetting the school that you are interviewing the teacher as well. And you have every right to interview that teacher because they're taking your money. Okay, they're taking your money, or they've got your name. Okay, so you need to make sure that you are going to get your money's worth out of that school. I'm just saying. Okay, so next question. If you were a hiring manager, I feel like I got some hair, like a loose hair. If you were a hiring manager for a medical coder or billing applicant, What would you find helpful to show I am organized and detail oriented? So when it comes to what I would look for, if I was hiring, if I'm looking at your resume, I'm expecting that resume to be 2 pages, no more than 2 pages. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for no errors in your resume at all, no spelling errors, no abbreviations, none of that stuff. Because everybody's detail oriented and a team player, and they've got all of these same keywords, right, on their resume, because that's what they think everybody wants to know, right? It's what they want. That's what they think every employer wants to hear, right? What I'm looking for is, like I said, no abbreviations, good spelling, good structure, 2 pages, okay? 1 really good cover letter, and not a cover letter that says the same thing like everybody else says. Oh, that, I'm a team player and I'm always on time and things like that. No, I want to know about you. I want to know what skills are you bringing to my company to make it better. Okay, how is hiring you going to benefit me? What have you been doing if you haven't been in the workforce for a while? Okay, what have you been doing this whole time to prepare yourself to be in the workforce? Are you going to meetings? Are you trying to connect with other medical coders? What are you doing? Okay, that would be what I would be looking for. And I would be looking for somebody that is well put together and like on resume, okay? So any jobs that are not really gonna like showcase your talents, they don't need to be there, okay? I mean, you can always put them on their application, but on the resume, you need to concentrate on like what is pertinent to that position. If you have any leadership skills, you need to put that on there. If you've worked with any sort of computer software, like the encoders, what kind of encoder you're working with, put it on there. I mentioned in the the last video about the job listings review that if they're asking for experience with like different computer software, like different EHRs, electronic health records, that you can go on YouTube and look at those tutorial videos for that particular electronic health record. Oh yeah, Epic has them, eClinicalWorks has them, Cerner has them, Alta has them, all of them. Every single electronic health record you could possibly think of has tutorial videos on YouTube. So if I were you and this is going to be your first job in medical coding, I would make sure that I'd be looking up those things, put that on your cover letter. I noticed that you are asking for experience with Epic. I have been reviewing and looking at the tutorial videos on YouTube. Show that you are proactive. That's what I would be looking for. I want somebody that's going to be proactive, not somebody that's going to sound like everybody else. Because guarantee you there's 50 to 100 other applicants that are going to look exactly like you if you put your resume exactly the same as everybody else. Review the job listing, and if you have to change or update your resume to reflect what's in that what's in that job posting, then you need to do that. Because the thing is, job postings are going to pick up on those keywords. Okay, now if you have those skills, if you possess those skills, then you need to have that in your resume, okay? Because that's how your resume is going to get recognized. And if you don't, then it's going to get passed over. So I'm just saying, and that's what I would be looking for, okay? And if you get interviewed, if you are doing virtual interviews, make sure you're dressed up, okay? You need to look nice. Even if you are seeing them through Zoom, okay? You need to make sure that you look nice, because whether you go to a place or, you're behind a camera, you need to show your best foot forward that's really going to shine and stand out, okay? And you need to be well-spoken, and you need to make sure that even if you do get nervous, just admit it. Just say, you know what, I'm a little nervous today. And usually they'll say that that's all right. Hopefully they'll try to put you at ease. But you can show a little bit of good character in doing that, because everybody knows that everybody's going to be nervous, especially if you're interviewing on a camera. I mean, it's different. It's different from being like face to face, but you want them to want you, okay? And you need to put your best foot forward. So that would be what I would be looking for, but that's just me. All right, next question. Are there any jobs that you can take before learning coding, billing? If you want to be a medical biller, you don't have to be certified to be a medical biller. Now, I got the question last time of, well, how am I supposed to know what to do if I haven't been trained to do billing? Well, a lot of times they will train you on the job. And see, the thing about billing is you are processing paperwork. That is essentially what billers do. Some do a little bit more than that, like the managers, they do a little bit more. But for the most part, you are taking from what the coder is submitting to you, and then you are submitting it to the insurance company. And then you're making sure that you're going through all those processes. So basically, that's what they do. A biller's knowledge is not going to be the same as a medical coder. However, it will help you to get that experience in looking at the codes, because when the insurance kicks, if the insurance kicks a encounter back, or whatever the case may be, a submission back. Okay, I should say that. If an insurance company pushes it back and says no, it's wrong, the first one that's going to look at it is the medical biller. Okay, then they can say, well, there's a modifier missing, it looks like, or there's maybe a diagnosis that's missing, and then they kick it back to the medical coder. So this is a good way of putting that sort of experience on your resume. You could say you had experience working with whatever insurance company that you were working with, and multiples. And then, of course, saying, well, that you had experience reviewing codes or whatever the case may be. So that's a good way to start. You can also go into medical records, because medical records, you don't need any sort of credential either. But you are working in the medical records department. So you are essentially like putting together records sometimes. You're scanning records into the system. It all depends. A lot of us are going to electronic health record. We are at electronic health record here. So there's some facilities that are still using paper and they are scanning things in. So it all depends. But medical records, release of information, that's all like in the same umbrella of patient administration. So when you find a job that's under patient administration, right, that is going to get you around those people that are going to be doing the hiring for the medical coders. Okay, so that's how you start to get around the people that you need to be around. Okay, I'm just saying. So that's my advice on that one. And then the last question. I have a friend who works at a small physician practice. She told me that they are getting new software systems that will do the coding for them. What are your thoughts? So tomorrow's episode is going to be on computer assisted coding. Okay, but I will say this about that. When it comes to computer assisted coding, that's exactly what it is. It's computer assisted. It doesn't mean that what is being selected by the computer is 100% correct. The detail is going to come in when a human being looks at it. Now, they have been saying this for years. They've been saying that, they're going to have these computer systems that do all the coding for us, and we're not going to need coders. They've been saying that for over 11 years, and probably before I started. But here's the thing. The computer is only as smart as you're telling it to be. It's never going to look at documentation and fully 100% code it correctly every single time. You know why? Because doctors, or whoever's documenting it, right, or PAs or nurse practitioners, whoever, they're not going to be in the same mood every day, okay? They're not going to put things the same way every day, right? I can say that somebody is a very sour person. Do I mean that they are like physically sour? No. I'm just saying that maybe they're mean or they're rude. It's the same thing if somebody says, oh, that person's very sweet. Well, do we think that they're made of sugar? No. We just mean that person is nice. So these different colloquialisms apply the same way, like with doctor's documentation. They can say stone, or they can say calculus, or they can use a myriad of other words, right, to describe something. So because of this means that the computer has to be that smart, okay? And when it comes to leveling, it's the same way. It's looking for little key phrases or key words or whatever, and that's how it's putting things together. So it's not always going to be 100% right. You still have to have somebody reviewing it. And to not to talk too much about tomorrow's episode, I will say this also. When people say things to you about your choice, about wanting to study medical coding, and perhaps you're studying it right now, And then you have somebody that's saying to you, well, I don't think it's a good idea because, all those jobs are going to go overseas, or, they're going to have computer assisted coding, or, whatever the case may be. This is kind of why the reason I tell you guys to select carefully about who you say what your future plans are, right? Because sometimes people will try to discourage you. And sometimes it's not malicious. That's just what they're thinking, okay? Because either they feel like they can't do it, so they wouldn't want somebody else to do it, or maybe it's a little bit of jealousy, or whatever the case may be. So if you have it in your mind that this is what you want to do, then go for it. And don't let anybody tell you that, well, they're going to phase out medical coders, because they've been threatening that for years, and we're still here, and they still need us, and there's still a demand, and there's still going to be a growth. If you look on the Bureau of Statistics, they have that where it's showing the growth of medical coders over time. So they're still going to need us, okay? I mean, unless they're going to have some really expensive software that's basically a human being that's going to be on 24/7 and can understand what these providers are thinking when they are documenting, then by all means. But I don't think that's going to happen. Okay, so I'm just saying we haven't even landed on Mars yet. I'm just saying, like human beings land on Mars. I'm just saying. Okay, yes, I know they have those little satellite things out there, but I'm just saying. It's going to be a lot, and you still have to review. Okay, and like I said, I'm going to go more into it tomorrow, but don't get discouraged if somebody tells you, because consider the source, number one. And if they're a medical coder, I mean, then they may have some knowledge about it. But if they're not a medical coder, and this is just somebody that think about that as well. How do you really know unless you're actually in it? And I'm actually in it, and I'm saying this. They've been saying this for eons, okay? Since Moses wore short pants, and we're still here. So I'm just saying. All right, I'm going to wrap this one up. But I thank you guys for watching. I hope you'll catch tomorrow's episode about computer-assisted coding. What is computer-assisted coding? All right. And if you haven't hit that thumbs up yet, hit it now. All right. If you're a medical coder, a medical coding student, somebody curious about the fascinating world of medical coding, a provider or a nurse, I invite you to like and subscribe and follow me on my journey in medical coding. I will see y'all next time. Bye.